This is the homework help video for 5-6 classwork, simplifying radicals. Okay, the approach we're going to use on the video is the exact same approach that we did in class. And if you missed class, just pay attention to these odd number problems and it'll be kind of like you taking notes. So what we're going to do all these problems the same way, and we're going to use the calculator to get our prime factors. Okay, once you get the factors, I'm going to show you how to look at the numbers and variables under the radical and know how to take as many of those numbers out of the radical and put them on the outside. Okay, so just work with these problems with me and you'll start seeing the pattern of how this is done. Okay, so there are some shortcuts on some of these, but we're not going to do any shortcuts. You know, we're not going to do the square root button on this. We're going to do all these the exact same way using the factor section of this calculator. So what you do from the main calculate screen, you want to go to menu and you want to go to number. So menu 2 on most of your calculators, but if the number's not 2, you look for the word number here. So go to number and then go to factor right there. So most calculators it's going to be menu 2, 3. So go to that, and I want to factor 196. So I can put 196 right in there. It tells me, it basically breaks it down to its smallest math components, the prime numbers that multiply all together to give me 196. Basically it's saying 2 times 2 times 7 times 7. If I multiply all those together, I get 196. Okay, so what we're going to do with those numbers, I'm going to go ahead and write them out. I'm going to write, instead of 2 squared, I'm going to write 2 times 2. 2 times 2, and then instead of 7 squared, I will write 7 times 7. So, since this is the square root, we're dealing with the square root. That means there's a little invisible 2 right here on my radical. What that basically means is, for every 2 of something I have on the inside, I can cancel that out, and it gives me one of those same numbers on the outside. So I had 2 number 2's on the inside. I cross them out. That gives me 1 2 on the outside. Okay? I have 2 7's on the inside. I cross it out. I get 1 7 on the outside. So I don't have anything else underneath my radical. So my radical's gone from this question, and all I have left is 2 times 7, and that's 14. So that was a lot of words of explaining to basically explain something, but now that you've seen it, you see kind of how easy and straightforward it can be. So let's take care of number 3. Number 3 has one little added component. There is a little -1 on the outside of the radical. So if you have something on the outside of the radical, you kind of want to ignore it and leave it alone. I'm just going to let that 1 drop down here to the bottom, and I'm not going to do anything with it until the end of my problem. Okay? So I'm going to do the 275 just like I did. I want the factors of that number. So menu 2, 3, factors of 275. I get 5 times 5 times 11. So 2 5's and an 11 all multiply together. So I'm going to rewrite it that way. 5 times 5 times 11. Okay, I have a pair of 5's. Since this is the square root, I can take out 2 5's, and that becomes 1 5 on the outside. So here's the -1 that I dropped down. Here is the 5 I'm dropping down. I can't pull out this 11, so I'm just going to leave the 11 inside the radical. It has to stay there. So basically, when I simplify my answer, -1 times 5 gives me -5, and I have the square root of 11. That's it. That's the same thing we will do on all of these. Okay, let's try number 5. Okay, once again, I'm going to ignore this -5 on the outside of the radical. I'm just going to rewrite it somewhere down here, and I'll be multiplying that by whatever other numbers I pull out of the radical. So I need to find the prime factors of 128, so I go to my factor, menu 2, 3, and I put in 128. It's 2 to the 7th power. That means I have 7 2's multiplied all together, and I will get 128. So I'm going to write 7 2's. Now, once you get used to this, you won't have to write them all out, but right now I think it's important so you can see the visual of what's happening. So, since I'm doing square roots, every 2 of these on the inside becomes a 2 on the outside. So those 2's cross out, I get 1 2 on the outside. Those 2's cross out, I get 1 on the outside. These 2 cross out, I get 1 on the outside. I don't have 2 more 2's, so that stays. I have a 2 inside the radical. So now I do -5 times 2 times 2 times 2, and that gives me my outside number. -5 times 2 times 2 times 2. -40 is my outside number. Square root of 2 is my inside number. And there you go. Let's move on to number 7. Okay, basically these are the same, except now you need to multiply these together and get the answer underneath the radical. So I'm going to do 12 times 20. Notice when I'm typing it in, I'm not putting square root of 12, just 12 times 20. Real easy. I get 240. So what that means is I'm dealing with the square root of 240. Now I proceed just like I did on the previous problems. I will find the factors of 240, menu 2, 3, get the factors of 240. I have 4 2's, a 3, and a 5. Okay, so let's write those out. I have 4 2's, a 3, and a 5. They're all multiplied together. You could put your little dot if you wanted to. Okay, so these 2's cancel, I get a 2 on the outside. Those 2's cancel, I get a 2 on the outside. I cannot cancel any 3's, I only have 1. And I cannot cancel any 5's, I only have 1. So I multiply those back together. 3 times 5 is 15. So when I multiply these together, I get 4. So my final answer is 4 square root of 15. That's it. Let's try number 9. Okay, we have 1/2 times the square root of 72 times 3 times the square root of 48. So what we're going to do is multiply the things that are in the same position. For example, this 1/2 and this 3 can multiply together. Okay? I could do that now, or I could wait and do it at the end. I'll go ahead and wait and do it. I'll do it now. So 1/2 times 3, you could put that in the calculator. Control divide. You could also do that in your head maybe. It's also like 3 divided by 2 times 3. I get 3 over 2. Okay? You could also get 1.5 and work with that just as well. But since I got 3 over 2, I'm going to bring down and leave on the outside here 3 over 2. So I've taken care of these, and I have a 3 over 2 that's waiting to multiply with whatever else I have. Now I'm going to multiply the ones that are both underneath a radical. 72 times 48 gives me 3,456. So inside the radical I have 3,456. I need to get the factors of that big number. So I go to my factor screen, 3,456. Okay, it breaks it down to its core factors. I have 7 2's times 3 3's. I'm going to go ahead and write it out. Seven 2's, 3 3's. For every 2 of those, I'll go ahead and circle these. So these 2 become 1 2 on the outside. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. So I canceled those 2, I get a 2 on the outside. I cancel these 2, I get a 2 on the outside. I cancel those, I get a 2 on the outside. I can't cancel this 2. There's not another pair. But I can cancel 2 of the 3's, I get a 3 on the outside. So on the outside I have 3 halves times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Let's go ahead and do that math. Control divide, 3 halves, get out of my fraction, times 2, times 2, times 2, times 3. I get 36. So my outside number is 36. What do I have on the inside? 2 times 3 is all I have left. That's going to be 6. So 36 square root of 6 is my final answer. All right. We're down to number 11 now. Now we have some variables with these. I have square root of 24a times square root of 32b. Okay, we're basically going to multiply the 24 and the 32, just like we did in previous problems. I get 768. So basically, I could rewrite this as the square root of 768, and then a times b is just ab. So I have 768 times a times b. Let's get the factors of the 768. Menu 2, 3, 768. Oops, got some extra numbers there. 768. So I have 2 to the 8th power, that's 8 2's, and 1 3. So I'm going to rewrite that in the expanded form. There's 4, 8 2's, and 1 3. Remember, they're all multiplied together, so I could put dots between them if I really wanted to. Okay, I also have an A and a B. So for every pair I circle, it gives me one of those same numbers on the outside. I circle this, that gives me a 2 on the outside. I circle this, I get a 2 on the outside. I circle this, 1 on the outside. I circle this, 1 on the outside. I don't have any more pairs, so 3ab will have to stay on the inside of my radical. And here I have 2 to the 4th power. You could do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or you could just do 2 caret top 4. That gives you 16. So I end up with 16 square root of 3ab. So it may seem a little tedious, but you can't say it's really that difficult because the calculator is doing the hardest part, and that is finding the factors, okay? That's huge. Doing that by hand can be a real chore, but when you have the calculator, these new calculators are your best friend. They really save you a lot of trouble. Okay, these bottom two, all you're going to do with these is you're going to break it into a top problem and a bottom problem. Now these are perfect squares, but you may not recognize that those are perfect squares, and you may not even know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to approach these the same way I did before. I'm going to go to my factor screen, and first I'm going to get the factors of 36. That is 2 2's and 2 3's. Okay, a pair of 2's and a pair of 3's. So I get a pair of 2's and a pair of 3's. It's a little messy, sorry about that. So I can take out that pair of 2's and I get a 2 on the outside. I can take out that pair of 3's and I get a 3 on the outside. When I multiply 2 times 3, my top number becomes 6. Let me open this one up. Okay, so my top number is going to be 6. Okay, how about the bottom number? I get the factors of 25. It's just a pair of 5's. 5 times 5 is 25. So that's going to give me 5 on the bottom. So I get 6 over 5 for my answer for that one. No more radical because they were both perfect squares. 6 times 6 is 36. 5 times 5 is 25. The last one, I'm going to try to get it done before I run out of time. We're going to take the square root of 121. That actually, I'm going to tell you now, it's a perfect square. That's going to be 11. And then the square root of 144, if you put it in the calculator, 12 times 12 is 144. So with the fraction, you get 11 over 12. But we have this negative 5 on the outside. If you multiply that, it's almost like a negative 5 over 1 times 11 over 12. So you multiply the top numbers, and your answer is going to be negative 55 over 12.